Hi, Andrew Bell here from Ray White, coming to you today to talk a little bit more about the relationship of jetties and real estate, and perhaps just the general boating topic altogether. I'm with John here, of course, who you've been receiving his emails for quite some time. So, John, I was only thinking since we spoke last time just about the differences between the structures of jetties and my perception of how that actually impacts on the buying decision of many people. You know, we've had waterways for a long time now,
Yep.
And I'm not sure how long ago that floating jetties came to fruition. What was that?
You're right. You know, Superior's been on the coast for 25 years, and it started off building the wooden jetties. That's how the name happened. But I would say early 90s they went to flotation, and that was just because in places like Fort Lauderdale, the tide only moves 300 mil, 1 foot.
Yeah.
They don't really bother about floaters there too much because it doesn't affect the safety of the step to the boat. You can rely upon it. Here we're about 1.8 metres as an average, depending upon the moon, but that's what you can be dealing with. And that's a huge difference.
Yeah.
So if you tie up to a fixed wooden jetty, you have to be very careful not to hang the boat on a high tide. You need to have your springers done correctly so that it can move up and down. And then it's a ladder or whatever. It all got to be too hard for people.
Yep.
So when you look out there when you're inspecting a property, the first thing to think is old fixed wooden jetty. Does it have asbestos piles in it? Does it have really things that you don't want to have impact?
Yep.
In which case, how much to make it go away? It could be $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 to make it go away. So that's a part of your buying decision. If it's a floating structure, it's a much more modern, accessible, easy thing, and it has more value.
Yeah, no question. We see that with people buying, and increasingly now, obviously our population's growing, and access to well-priced boats produced on volume, it's now making boating more affordable for people. And so we're seeing an increasing demand for people saying, you know, I'd like to buy a home with a jetty facility. But if it was a home with the old wooden facilities, we see people immediately sort of turning off it because they know the complications that go with that, as opposed to the floating jetties. And so there's significantly more value for people in buying a home with the flotation jetty.
I think there's a value in the convenience of that accessibility to the water. And the second one is that intangible, but it's a value in the quality of your family life. If you have these facilities at home, the kids are less likely to want to go somewhere else. They can recreate at home on the water. If you're boating, you're in close proximity to each other all day. I've found even if you've had a disagreement with your spouse, you're together all day, it's going to get sorted on a boat.
Yeah, correct.
It's nowhere else to go. And I think that's a really big plus, particularly for young families, that the fun and excitement of boating extends that time you have with your children that are less likely to be at the movies or a video arcade.
Yeah. I think with the sport cruises coming in, it's changed the ability for people to keep their boats at home. You know, with the tall masts and with the much larger vessels, that you're largely confined to a yacht club of some sort. But all of the rest that you can take home and more in front. And as you said before, there's amazing convenience that comes with that. You don't have to necessarily pack everything up just as you're about to leave. You can do that a day or two before you're leaving. You can even put things in the refrigerator and have it all chilled and ready to go. And on the reverse, when you come back, tie up the back of the home, maybe take the perishables off, and then do the clean up whenever you like. And so there's this convenience, not having to drive to and from the yacht clubs and so on. And so people really like that. And you can keep an eye on your boat. And of course, there's no mooring fees, which makes boating that much more affordable. So there's this increasing trend and desire by people to keep the boat at the back of the house.
It is a great investment when you look at, you know, a floating structure that costs $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, and you start looking at mooring fees and the number of years payback on that investment. Because even if you secure a berth, it's probably a 20-year lease. You don't actually own any freehold title. There's an amount of money that you're paying every year, no matter what, in maintenance, even if you do hold that lease.
Yes.
Versus the structures at home now are very robust. They're low maintenance, and it's your structure, albeit you have a right to use the public facility of the waterway. Think of it like a council park. That's what it's like. They're giving you an ability to use their public waterway.
Interesting, as you drive up the canals, you'll often see the kids with a fishing line out. I see so often the ropes going down to the crab pots and so on. So beyond just a boat, it is a recreational space.
It is, particularly, and we're seeing a trend there with, more comfort, furniture, the ability to be able to enjoy that waterfront.
I see the fishermen with sinks and the taps. So it's really become a multi-purpose platform.
It is. We actually think of it two ways. People always looked at arriving at a home and saying, what's the street appeal like? Is this a place that I would want to buy and call my home? These days, particularly with waterfront, you have a dual appeal. There's the water appeal aspect of it as well.
Yes.
And I find the living areas tend to open onto that area.
Yes.
Do you find that's a big part of the buying decision, that aha moment when they walk in and see that?
Oh, there's no question from my perspective that when people see a jetty at the back, it changes their perception of the home. It almost gives a sense that this home is of greater value because it's got all of the bits and pieces. A home without a jetty, often makes people feel there's something missing. It just completes a waterfront home.
Yep.
And you'll even see when people are doing inspections of a property, they'll always walk out of the jetty. It just seems to be a natural progression.
Yep. Stand there and look back.
Absolutely.
And I think we had somebody say to me, we were doing a customer interview, and he said, well, tell me how you feel about this type of product that's in front of your home.
Yeah.
And she said, I love it because it's a beacon to my home. Yeah. And she loved the structure and the way it was done. She said, it's a beacon to my home. And for somebody on the water, that's a very tangible thing.
Yes.
That's safety, protection. It's a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. You asked me a little bit earlier about the real estate market. I think most of us know that the national market's been very strong for most of 2013 and into 2014. Concerns about Sydney and Melbourne. Sydney's starting to really top out. We would say overpriced. Melbourne, there's question about oversupply of properties, and perhaps those markets are starting to reach their peak. Through most of the rest of Australia, we're still playing a little bit of catch-up, and definitely here in southeast Queensland. Pleased to say that Brisbane's now regarded as one of the most desirable cities to be buying in, and we're seeing a lot of foreign buying start to concentrate on that market following Sydney and Melbourne sort of topping out. And that's flown through to the Gold Coast. I would say in 2013 we saw about a 10% rise, and we're seeing good significant price increases through the early parts of 2014. We are all interested to see what the impacts of the budget will have on real estate. I do expect as we get towards the end of this year to see interest rates start to rise a little bit. And that's always an intention of the Reserve Bank to kind of keep our real estate prices a little bit in check so it doesn't get out of control. So I expect a good, healthy market. No boom as such, but a good, healthy market. And I think we've seen great maturity in our real estate market. And one of the questions you often ask is, what's the hotspot? I don't think it's beyond question now that it's Southport. It's a market that's probably getting so many benefits. It's going to be the centre of the Commonwealth Games, except the fact that the actual sporting events will be out at Metricon Stadium. But the Athletes Village is there, and a lot of other surrounding events like the swimming and so on. And then you've got the light rail that's travelling through, and I think that suburb will receive more benefits of light rail than any other suburb. Universities continuing to grow. We've got the new University Hospital, which is a big bonus. It's now been officially named as the CBD of the Gold Coast, and it's where the proposed Chinatown is going to be located. So it's got a lot of big ticks that have gone into that suburb. And then the overflow from that will be strong. So the suburbs a bit to the north and a bit to the south. And the northern region of the Gold Coast is also going very well. Markets like Sanctuary Cove and Hope Island, of course, which is where so much boating is.
Yeah.
So I'd say from the centre to the north is where the greatest strength is.
Yeah, it's great to get that insight, Andrew. For our bloggers that are listening, it's up to the minute and it's real, and you're in the marketplace doing it. So
yeah, look, it's we see as usually happens with a real estate market recovery, that but it starts in the lower price brackets first, and it takes a while to filter through to the top. And so a lot of the activity we've seen during 2014 has been in investor type stock. We're seeing first home buyers back in. Markets like Coomera have been incredibly strong. But it's now filtered through to the top. We had a $6.1 million sale just a week or so ago, 5.95, a penthouse for $4 million. And so these larger sales are just starting to become more frequent.
Yeah.
And that means we've got the whole of the market performing well.
It's great. These are great opportunities to just get together and discuss instead of doing one up. I've really enjoyed this.
Yeah, pleasure.
And thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, good on you.
Terrific. See you later.
Thanks.